Hello guys, thank you for tuning in to another video. Thanks for bearing with me. I apologise for the delay. As you can see, I am vet 11, just a little bit over vet at 11 and a half. My last video was levelling up to vet 1 and I decided to hang off this long, in particular because I was trying out a few loadouts and more importantly I switched from a stamina build to a magic build, so I had a few things to change and quite a lot of stuff to level up, so this is why it took so long to get this video out to you. So I'm just going to go straight into it, but I would like to point out this isn't a unique build, okay? You can pretty much search for it online. It's known as a WARLOCK build for Nightblade, so if you search that on Google you'll get other loadouts if mine doesn't look interesting or you want to compare it to other guys. So it's the WARLOCK build for Nightblades and it is, as you can see, primarily Magicka. Magicka is extremely important because, as I'll speak to you later on, you're going to be focusing a lot on siphoning abilities, and they're focused on Magicka. So health I put a little bit in, but nothing major, and stamina as well, just to give me a little bit of a boost when I'm running about the map, which is a lot. So Magicka, yep, is you're going to primarily start. You could probably put nothing in stamina if you wish, totally up to you. The plus 10 probably doesn't make a huge difference, so each to their own. Looking at the active effects, the only two, well, the main important one, as you can see, is the boon I'm using, is the Atronach. Gives me an increased magical recovery. There's a lot of different ones you can use. You could go for spell critical, or pretty much that's the only one I remember, so bear with me. There's other boons out there, but Atronach's the one I'm using at the minute. I'm still werewolf, but I don't use any of the abilities, and with the new update coming out, which means that you have to actually have it active to get the stamina buff, it's pretty pointless having if you're not a stamina build. So I'll be looking to get rid of that at a later date, possibly look into going into vampirism. The only other bonus is just the things you get from the usual ones, the ESO plus and stuff, kind of stuff like that. So moving on. Okay, we're going to go straight into skills and we're going to go into the classes: assassination, siphoning, and shadow. For the Warlock build, without obviously going into too much explanation, it's heavily in siphoning. That seems to be the one of the abilities I'm using at the minute, is siphoning. So we'll go up to my powers here. I use Fire Staff. Originally I was using Fire Staff for both loadouts, but I found quite a good electrical staff, which gave me quite a good buff, so I decided to stick with that, but I plan on going back to Fire Staffs. Okay, at the minute for my first loadout, it's more of a single target loadout, which is handy for when you're questing. It's good for anything really, to be honest, but I see it as a solo single target. The first one I've got is Swallow Soul, and it is an extremely OP move. As you can see, it steals an enemy's life force, it deals an insane amount of damage, magic damage, and it gives me a lot of health back. It has saved my ass on a million times. I have seen myself just spamming this over and over. If you've got a lot of magicka, you never run out of it, so way overpowered. So you can, as you can see, you're getting 27% of the damage and healing every 2 seconds, so it's pretty insane. So that should always be primarily on your loadout no matter what. As you can see, it's on both loadouts, that's that good. The next move I have is Crippling Grasp. And it saps an enemy's agility and bolsters your own, so a little bit of magic comes from your feet and zooms into theirs, gives them a bit of a hit. As you say, it reduces their movement speed and increases mine. I've not really noticed a huge difference when I'm doing it for speed wise, but it does quite a bit of damage, so it works. And it also stuns the enemy, so a nice little boost. Flame Clench. This is from the Destruction Staff, and it is amazing. Not only does it do 2247 flame damage, and another just under 3000 over 8 seconds, it knocks the enemy back. I've seen myself soloing world bosses with this move on, if, fingers crossed, they actually are interruptible. This move comes in so handy if you're taking on a bit mob you're not expecting. You can whack one of the enemies back, focus on the one close at hand, and then rinse and repeat. So this move should always be on your loadout if you are using Destruction Staff. The next one I've got is a Fire Ring. This is an AoE move. It does a ring of fire around the enemies, well, nearby enemies, does a lot of damage, and again it's spammable, so it's pretty overpowered as well. It's only at level 3 at the minute because I've just started using it. The next one I get is another Destruction Staff move, Force Pulse. It gives it a beam, almost kind of beam of energy, but it's flame. It does 1153 flame damage, 1153 cold damage, and 1153 shot damage. So if you add all that up, it's pretty good. It also gives you a 40% chance of afflicting an enemy with chill, burning, and concussion effects, which pretty much one-shots him. So these are really good moves. And my ultimate is Soul Tether, which is amazing again. It basically gives a kind of AoE effect. Any enemy in the area, you'll see a red line coming from them to you, as if you're draining them of their essence, I like to call it. It deals a lot of damage, and I'm pretty sure if you morph it correctly, you can get extra health, or extra healing, sorry. So I get, this ability gives me siphoning 1010 health to me every 1 second that they remain nearby me, so the closer they are, the better. So that's my main loadout that I primarily use. My second loadout is more of an AoE attack. Again, Swallow Soul, don't need to explain that again. Refreshing Path, again, I used this way back, so it's nothing new. Gives you a path in front of you that deals damage to enemies in that area, so it's handy for AoE. As is Unstable Wall of Storms. Slam your staff down to create an unstable storm barrier in front of you. It deals 270 shock damage every 0.5 seconds. And again, if you morph it correctly, it gives you more AoE damage. So again, great for AoE. This one's Inner Light. This is actually a mage ability, I believe. Makes your arms yellow, which looks cool. And increases your spell critical by 1964. So once it's on as well, you also get a 5% increase to your max magicka. So it's a nice wee buff to get. The next one's Elemental Drain. Again, level 3. Haven't used it too much, so just came across it not long ago. Again, it's an AoE effect. Again, saps enemies' defences, gives them major breach, spell resistance, and it basically makes them more susceptible to spell damage, which is pretty handy. So, and it gives me 312 magicka every time I do damage. So this kind of, if you've got this loadout on, between this, Inner Light, and Meteor, sorry, apologies, Elemental Drain, your magicka should pretty much be constantly going up. Meteor, again, is another mage guild ability, and it doesn't need much explanation. It's not been, pretty sure it's not been morphed yet. I know morph you can do a shooting star, I think it's called, that does insane damage, and I've been recommended to morph into that as soon as I can. So that is my 2 loadouts that I'm using at the minute. Again, one of them is AoE and one of them is single target, so just depends on what you prefer. I go with both. I've seen myself switch between the 2 in dungeons. So Assassination is fully, everything is selected, as is Shadow and Siphoning. I think usually just because sometimes if I'm soloing and I get killed a lot, I will sneak by enemies, so I'll just quickly activate Dark Cloak. So as you can see, it's hardly used. So as you can see, my two-handed, my dual wield, and my bow were all 50 as well because I was leveling them up when I was lower. As you can see, I've focused on Destruction Staff, so everything's leveled up for that. Right, moving on to armour. Medium armour was primarily what I was using as a stamina build, so if you're going for stamina, you want medium, due to the passives that you're going to get for that. But after I decided to go Warlock, it's magic based, and that is light armour, so I have been focusing heavily on trying to get this leveled up and manage to finally get it done. Light armour's great because, as you can see, it gives you a lot of passives for magicka abilities once it's equipped. There's not really too much to go into, to be honest. As you can see, you've got reduces magicka, increases magicka, increases spell resistance, increases spell critical, so it's all about spells. So this is what you want to go if you're using spells. Pretty much sums it up. As you can see, my werewolf's 10, so magic's just a couple. Major abilities maxed out. Again, I'm using Inner Light, as you can see, and Meteor. They're both on my loadout, which means due to that, I believe I get a casting and Mage's Guild ability grants him power, increasing damage of your next attack. So having those two on my AoE loadout also gives me that bonus, and increases my match magicka as well. For each gauge 2%, so I'll get a 4% buff for using two abilities on my second bar. So it's a good magic bar, this one. Okay, Breton skills, as you can see, light armor affinity, which is really handy for being a magicka build. And also, as you can see, increase your max magicka. A lot of people suggested using, I think it was 3 other races, and Breton wasn't mentioned. In all honesty, I went Breton because I like the look of them. It just turns out now that I'm a magicka based blade, it suits me. And I don't need to go into this, this is all my blacksmithing and woodworking and clothing, so that's your provision and your crafting skills. At the minute, as you can see, my main hand is flame damage, my backup is lightning, only because it's a purple drop. I eventually do plan to get back to fire damage. For gear at the minute, because I've only started recently leveling up light armor, sorry, my attributes have been pretty low, so I've not been able to do the higher sets of gear. So at the minute I am using, I believe, 4 sets of Torix Pact, which gives me 151 weapon damage. It's not really handy considering what I'm using, but I'm using it for the 2 items, which is 151 spell damage. I do plan on changing that at a later date to a more higher spell critical. And I am also using, I can find it, Ashen Grip, which gives me another again weapon damage. So again, I plan on swapping that as soon as I can get a chance to level up my attributes. I'll just quickly show you what I mean by attributes, just in case people are not 100% sure. So here when you go to creation, as you can see down here is your traits. So it's not attributes, apologies, it's traits. I'm talking a lot of crap. I have 1, 2, 3, 3, which means that I can only make gear sets that I've got 3 traits and under. There's a trait set that I'm looking to get, and it's a 4 trait set, so I need to wait until I can get one more thing researched. Each item has to have a number of traits researched as well, so breeches also have to 3, shoulders have to have 3, waist has to have 3, and such and such. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach a little bit of a clip after this, just showing you what I can do as a warlock. In fact, do you know what? I might just do that now with this guy here. So there's the gem, as you can see, you can just spam that around. Come on. Hey guys, sorry about that. Game decided to kick me out there randomly, and for no apparent reason. Lost my internet connection. Thought I would quickly come back just to finish that little bit I was doing at the end there, just to show you an example of my powers. Straight away you want to activate your first ability here, the strength there at S, and heals me. As you can see, that's the power there that flings them back, and it's extremely handy. So I'm just going to pop this ring of fire here, bring this guy up. This is a good power that does the flame, cold, and shock at the same time. And as you can see, it's pretty handy. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to attempt these guys here, just a group of them there. And my ultimate's available, so I'm just going to run in and activate it. As you can see, the lines, it's pretty much way overpowered. Go. Alright guys, so I'm just going to activate my drain. To the one that bounces back. Individually, and keep them away. Focus on this one. That's the one that makes me damage. The ring's right close, so I'm going to, once I get mass up, I'm going to activate the flame. Here, a lot of this happening. A little bit of that attack will start. And my ability's back. As you can see, the enemies are a little bit far, so I'm not going to do that there. Drain power and down. That's just a little bit of an example, guys, of the loadout that I have on. It's pretty good, and you can handle pretty much most mobs if you take your time. Especially in group dungeons. I've also seen myself solo group dungeons, well, for a certain amount, not for the full dungeon. I'm not going to say I can do that at the minute. Anyway, thanks very much guys for tuning in. If there's anything you want to see me upload, give me a suggestion, and if I can, I'll do it. I work full time, so this is kind of a part-time thing for me, so like I said, just give me a like and feel free to sub, and thanks for sticking with me.
PlayStation